Okay, so we are live, and this is the Intersection Podcast. My name is Mike Duench. I'm Vice President of Marketing for Miovision. And we are in a new venue locally here in Tennessee. It's actually called the Podcast House, and it's off the beaten track from my perspective. But my guest today, Matt Smith, you said you kind of know where you are right now, right? We're kind of like in the back, like take a left.
We're in the middle of East Nashville.
So give us a lay of the land. We want to know who you are, where you're from, and maybe why we're on the podcast today chatting about.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. As you said, my name is Matt Smith. I have the pleasure of serving as Vice President at Stansell Electric Company, leading our transportation and infrastructure division. So think everything outside of a building. That's signals, roadway lighting, ITS work, airfields, duct banks. If it's outside of a building and it has an electrical component, it's probably something that we do.
Mm-hmm.
We have our main office here in Nashville. We have another office in Knoxville that serves East Tennessee.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about a lot of different things. So Stansell, relationship with Miovision, maybe, talk to us about, the role that technology plays in everything outside of the building. Like, what are the different things that you and your team are implementing? And then maybe reference a few examples of ways that you're deploying Miovision out in the field as well.
Yeah, so our relationship with Miovision really began phase 2 of the I-24 Smart Corridor project. That project for the Department of Transportation and for us as the contractor contained just an immense amount of technology, from the lane use boards to the over-the-shoulder boards, all of the radar detection units. And that's what most people see when they think of the smart corridor is the lane use gantries and that work. But the other half of that project really exists in the arterials and on the Murfreesboro Pike corridor. And so as part of that project, we touched 125 different intersections from Nashville to Murfreesboro and deployed Miovision technology at each of those intersections, really to take the place of the inductive loops that existed in years past to have better, more reliable, more granular data to create more reliability at those intersections.
Very cool. Where would you say, so that was phase 2. How many phases does a typical project like this, when you're modernizing something that extensive, does it just keep rolling and adding capabilities and complexities?
Yeah, so phase 1 of the 24 project was really the butterfly structures with additional DMSs, and we did some controller work at some of the intersections. Phase 2 was what we're wrapping up right now, which is a much larger scope of work with the lane use gantries, as I mentioned, and then the additional arterial work. Phase 3 is still in design, and so does that include ramp metering? Does that include arterial DMS, more detection? We'll have to see when that project's fully designed. But my thought is that phase 3 will wrap up the 24 corridor, and that technology will then be deployed on other corridors throughout Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think, as an outcome is like get folks moving more efficiently, get them home safer. What are some of the big outcomes that you see when somebody tries to, maybe if you're going to, tour a local school and explain to maybe, sixth graders, what do you do and what specifically are you solving for the city or the state? What is it specifically that you believe you do?
The simple answer is we dig ditches and put pipe in the ground and we play in intersections, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much more to that. As a company, we built the first actuated traffic signal in Nashville. And so the city of Nashville, the Department of Public Works at the time, recognized the need to move from timed intersections to actuated intersections. And it was really an opportunistic effort for us as a company to get into that line of work, and we've been building traffic signals ever since. Most people, when they think about traffic and congestion, their immediate answer is more lanes.
Right.
Without thinking about the physical constraints, the time to deploy, the sheer cost in adding lanes to the roadway. Where leveraging technology, while it may not increase volume, it increases reliability.
Right.
And oddly enough, the benefits that we hope to see from the phase 2 project, the day that we activated the lane use signs and the variable speed limits, driver behavior immediately changed.
Really? How so?
really, it's about sharing information. So, are you familiar with the accordion effect?
Yes.
So, by using the variable speed limit signs and then the data that flows back to the TMC from the RDSs, those variable speed limits can be adjusted up or down.
Right.
So, where a posted speed typically is 70 miles an hour due to volume and congestion, traffic up ahead is only flowing at say 45 miles an hour. Those signs, ahead of that as you're approaching can be dropped down to 40, 45 miles an hour. So okay, I need to go ahead and start slowing down now as opposed to slamming on my brakes and creating another accordion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from afar, but within this space, the stuff that's happening in the state, especially with the work that you guys are doing, as well as at some of the universities out of Chattanooga, and there's a lot of world class. You said first of its kind type of innovation that's coming out of the state, arguably. But when you look outside of this space, and I think you shared a bit of an example of how at the shop you have a Tennessee DOT deployment of technology. What are some of the ways that you're doing that to make sure that folks that work for Tennessee DOT are getting the right training or getting the right test bed for that type of innovation? How have you kind of seen or realized the benefits of integrating with technology partner, academia, or the public and private partners that you do to bring this whole thing to life?
Yeah, so you mentioned universities and their involvement. So Vanderbilt University and the folks there, specifically Dr. Dan Work and Dr. Will Barber, have been instrumental in collaborating with TDOT and really providing us information as well on the studies they're doing on that corridor. And it's edifying to see the output of their data and their research to say, yes, this is having a positive impact. It's doing what it is we had hoped it would do. And then using, again, their input, their data to make tweaks and changes to the system. And so, as the contractor, we get to see that stuff, happen from afar. But as I said, it's edifying to know that what we're doing is having an impact.
Very cool. And, we talk about impact. We have an event planned tomorrow. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. We shared a bit about, unfortunately, the area got hit with a bit of inclement weather recently, specifically a tornado. So for, a company like Stansell that's out there servicing, what does that mean for your ability to deliver safety, yes, and technology, yes, but, make sure people are actually safe, that there's no loss of life or damage to materials? How does that actually realize itself on a day-to-day basis?
What happened on Saturday with the tornadoes that came through Middle Tennessee was a really unfortunate event. We had some loss of life, and that's horrific. I can't imagine being in that position and having to go through what those people are going through. As we saw, the news reports start coming in early afternoon, we started communicating with all of our people, particularly people leaders, to say, hey, as this passes, check on your people, make sure they're okay, because that's the first priority. The second priority is, if you're part of one of our bucket truck crews, be ready, because the phone's going to ring and we need to respond. As a company, our purpose is really simple, and it's three things. It's grow our people, serve our customers, and build our community.
Wow.
And that's really agnostic of what we do as a company.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we're an electrical contractor, if we were an IT consultant, or if we were a manufacturer of IP cameras.
Yeah.
Those things are why we exist. And so after the storms came through and we started to receive, phone calls from, different municipalities and agencies we work with, then it's, okay, how do we respond? I actually met our crews out yesterday morning before they started responding in the city of Hendersonville. And I said, guys, here's the thing. These folks are having to experience this tragedy and what's happened, either, a loss of a business or their home, or tragedies are never easy for anyone.
Yep.
You may get honked at, you may see people frustrated, and that's okay, because we need to be here to try and make life easier and better for them as things get put back together. And so it's very humbling to be able to serve our community in that way.
It's amazing. I mean, you're right. Like, tragic. challenging situation for, the folks here in the area to have to deal with. And I think also, your 3 points about what you and how you see your role in serving the folks here in Tennessee is, and an opportunity to really be really clear and then empower your people to make those right choices and be there during that time of need, I think is also really critical. So just maybe, is there a short story that you have as far as, the amount of time that folks are on the road and those trucks are rolling during and after, say, an event like this on Saturday versus, a regular week where there wasn't anything like that? Is there anything that you'd like to share?
One of our biggest risks from an injury-free perspective is the motoring public. And for most folks, their experience being on the side of the roadway at best is having to change a flat tire,
right,
or call AAA. And it's for a matter of minutes, right? Where for us, it's what we do every day for 8 hours a day, if not more. And so, it's a really different feeling standing on the side of an arterial road or, a surface street than it is working on the side of the interstate. And so making sure that we're always cognizant of those risks and doing the things that we can do to protect ourselves as well as the motoring public, it's not something we take lightly.
No, I bet. And, only the best wishes. You never want to say make it, about thoughts and prayers or whatever it is to the people in Tennessee and to get back to some sort of situation of normalcy. But maybe let's pivot as it relates to Miovision and Stansell specifically. You shared a story. I guess it makes sense. Some of your people would go to training for various different companies. And I think maybe share with the listeners a highlight maybe from your team when they got the chance to head up to the Great White North. Have you ever been to Canada?
I have never been to Canada.
All right. So there's nothing personal, but the experience I think that the Stansell people had was specifically what?
So when they came back, they said the training was phenomenal. They learned a lot about the technology, how to program, how to troubleshoot, all the things you expect when you go to a technical training, right? But I asked them, I said, so what was your favorite part? What was the best part of going? And the two guys we sent when they came back, they said, oh, hands down, it was being, them taking us to go curling. And I just kind of looked, I said, to do what? They said, yeah, we went curling one night. I said, man, I should have gone. I was planning on going. I wanted to go. Things came up, but yeah, going curling was the highlight of the training event.
So we'll put it on the radar to get you up for maybe training part 2. And I did say that we'll do better than just curling. But I also gave you one trivia question that may have stumped you before we were getting on. And I asked you if you knew what the national sport of Canada was, and it was a bit of a curveball for you.
It was. You gave me some hints. You said it's not hockey and it's not curling.
Right.
And I'm a big sports guy, so
right.
That I don't know that answer. Is it lacrosse?
It's lacrosse. Yeah, you nailed it. So to Carter and maybe some other folks that might be thinking about a career in engineering or in electrical or civil, there's so many different ways that technology, electrical, IT in many ways manifests itself within what you folks deliver. What would you say to somebody like that that's thinking about a career? What should they be excited about, or what would they expect in a day if they kind of got into a career in ITS or in engineering or in this type of business?
The first thing I would say is there's not a shortage of opportunity.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time investing our resources in educating high school kids of the opportunities they have even outside of attending a 4-year college.
Yeah.
Be it trade school, skilled trades, things of that nature. We actually internalized our apprenticeship program about 4 years ago. We got it approved through the U.S. Department of Labor, and actually we were the first Department of Labor approved apprenticeship program for a transportation electrician.
Very
cool.
So
we built curriculum specifically around signal cabinets, high mast lighting, and ITS components.
Wow.
And so when we do our apprenticeship program in-house, and so after year 2, our apprentices have to make a decision. Do they want to go the commercial industrial route, or do they want to go the ITS and signal and lighting route.
Very cool. How prevalent is that across the country, in your understanding?
That transportation track that we built, my understanding was at that time it was the first one of its
Very
kind in
cool.
the country.
So you have a trend. You're a bit of a disruptor down here, aren't you?
A little bit. We, one of the things I like to say is we like to try new things. I mentioned the 24 project, right?
Yeah.
That job had 67 lane use gantries. So, the gantry, the horizontal bridge structures that span the roadway. And each one of those has at least 4 lane use boards and 1 over-the-shoulder board. And so what we knew was that using conventional means and methods to build that project, it would take 10 years because of the number of rolling roadblocks used to you got to put up the uprights and you have to put up the horizontal and then put the boards on. It was just too much in terms of having to employ rolling roadblocks to get the work done. So we built a better mousetrap. We went out and we used 3D scanners to scan each intersection. We modeled each gantry with the boards. We prefabricated the entire things and rolled them out as one assembly. And in one rolling roadblock would fly the entire structure and put it up. And the level of efficiency that created was one aspect, obviously, but the most important thing was it reduced the time that we had to work in the roadway,
Right.
And be exposed to the risk of traffic.
Yeah, and sadly, that's a very real risk, right? Like, how do we ensure that those engineers and traffic-related folks are, in safekeeping, that they're not doing this really important work and going to get themselves into trouble? So that's something you got to be on the lookout for. Now, I will ask you one question just about Miovision. So, Miovision, how long have you known our company for? And
Oh, goodness, I would say the better part of 4 or 5 years.
okay, cool. So, in 4 or 5 years, how much or how little have you seen kind of in our evolution as far as trying to become more dynamic and agile in the way that we help you to deliver technology in a novel way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, with any, the Internet of Things, things are constantly evolving and changing and progressing. And the speed at which we are employing new technologies to deliver the projects that we build it's revolutionary, right? If we turn the clock back, 15 years, signals were operating on inductive loops, and that was about it. And then we had radar units and other things that came along. But the use of high resolution 360-degree IP cameras to take the place of those older technologies has just brought the industry so much further along. It's incredible. I can't imagine where we're going to be 5 or 10 years from now.
So you kind of think about how quickly we've advanced already from loops and closed systems to connected systems and 360-degree high definition. And where do you think we're going to go in 5 to 10 years? What would your...
That's a scary question to think about. Really, we're limited to our own imaginations, right? I would say that's the first limiting factor. The other limiting factor is going to be the motoring public's appetite for change. You talk about autonomous vehicles. I enjoy driving my vehicle. And so do I want to give up that freedom and that ability? Well, if it's reliable and if it's consistent, yeah, probably I will. I think more near term, we're going to see more cloud-based solutions. I think we're going to see more automated decision-making as it relates to signal timings, sharing of information through digital message signs. You mentioned V2X. I think there's a real opportunity for integrating to, onboard devices, again, to share information, make people aware of issues, conflicts, delays ahead so that they can make more informed decisions.
Yeah. You think about even the automotive business, right, with Sirius versus XM radio, and you think about like OnStar with Chevy. Everybody tried to have their proprietary, unique value proposition with making vehicles smarter or the experience better. I don't know, part of it has to be like open standards where all the OEMs come together and Tennessee comes with Florida. And that's really, I think, the mandate if we're ever going to make this a safer, mostly autonomous V2X type environment. We're going to have to work in a more collegial, fashion.
Yeah, and I think legislation will have to drive that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that was awesome. And this is the start of our adventure here in Nashville, at least with you, Stansell, the folks from TCS and Miovision. So, Matt, I just want to say thanks for coming on the Intersection podcast. We will be signing off, but before we do, we're also, Miovision is proud to release the Roundabout newsletter, so you'll be seeing that shortly. That's it from beautiful Nashville. I'm Mike Duench with the Intersection podcast. Bye for now.